Okay, so what is a variance and a standard deviation? So before we kind of continue with this, let's think about these two data. 我们在这里看到的是他们的 mean is the same，我们的 range is the same。But does that mean 我们的那一个 data is the same? Not necessary，因为我们有某一些的 data 是一样的，doesn't mean that they are both exactly the same data。那么我这里有11，OK，我这里有一个7，OK，so it's really depending on the situation. So that's why we introduce variance and standard deviation. So let's have a look. So what is a standard deviation? So standard deviation is is how far away from the individual number from the mean. OK， 所以我们看到我们这里的 standard deviation，for example， 我已经算出来有一个 standard deviation 了的。So how far away is each of the point from the mean? So 我们就讲 ，OK，if we look at the first data，OK， 我们这里的话，它的 distance between 好像是 cent one 嘛，对不对？可是我们的 mean 是6，所以它的 distance 它其实是从这里。So 我们的 standard deviation for point 1 is from here to here. That's our standard deviation. And etc. goes etc. for others. Okay, but also depends on negative and positive. 这个是 standard deviation 唯一的，就是要记得的，它是有 negative and positive 的，因为它是有去左边，还有右边。For the second day, this is also still the same thing, but what you will realize is 当我们算出来它的所有的这些 difference 的时候，它一定是等于0的。So it's not really helpful in this case. So what we tend to do is actually just put a square root on it. 也就是 x minus the mean, the square. And this is where we introduce about variance. Okay, but what really is a variance? Okay, 在 variance 里面呢，我们简单来讲，他要做的东西是可能讲，maybe look at the spread 啦。它简单来讲是看它的那个 spread 是多少，就是我 square 了之后 ，how far away is it from the data from what we expect？ 好像讲我们如果它是 exactly on the point 嘛，对不对？它的 spread 其实是没有的，因为它是100% good 的。OK，but 如果它是我们的好像讲 big distance 了啦。OK， 我们的 spread 我们的 variance 越高，我们就是 very far away from the mean。这个就是他想要讲的一个东西。Okay, so standard deviation itself, it's useful, but it's better with variance. It's meaning how diverge it is from the mean. That's a better definition or better usage compared to standard deviation. So, what are the formulas? 我们的 formula 这个是没有记错，好像是包括在里面啦。But the formula is the sum of each of the data minus the mean, square it first, then only sum. So for example, 我把它们看到吗？我把它们减了之后，我把它们 square， 减了之后再 square， 我最后的时候再全部冚唪唥全部加起来。这个就是 variance 的那个算法。So in this case, 就是72 over here and 8 over here, which is 72 over 8. So that's our variance is 9. This is how spread we are. So in a way, 就像我讲的一样，我们的 spreadness 呢，它一定是越高，就是讲着它越 宽，就是越 spread out 的嘛。But in this case, 9, I would say it's not too bad considering that we have 25 and 36. But yes, 我们算某 in some at some aspect, we do say it's kind of spread. Okay, it can be because of outliers. We might want to take out the outliers. 就是这些就是我们 statistics 会去想的东西。Do we want to take it out? What are the factors? Is it really necessary or is it the nature? Okay, 所以这个 statistics 甚至是在 physics, chemistry, biology 全部都会发生的。But what if I try to square root it? 就是我们的 standard deviation, 也就是3。So that means that is the distance, average data of the distance from the mean. Okay, so plus and minus, it's actually quite big lah. In a way, depends on the result or depends on the data or the experiment. Okay, now let's try one example. So 首先 find the variance and the standard deviation. But first of all, we have to find out what is the distance from the mean first. Given that we have the mean of 6, 也就是讲在这里是 -5, -5, -4, -1, 3. Oh, sorry, not 3. It should be 2 here too. -2, 2, 3, 5, and 6. OK, 就是我的那个 data 减去 mean 之后的 value. 然后把全部 square 在一起。16, 4, 4, 9, 25, 36. And our total is 144. Which is 144 over here. Now, 我们的 total data, number of data is 8. So 我们就讲 144 over 8 equals to 18. 那我们的 standard deviation 就是等于 square root of 18. If you want, turn it into decimal, which is this one. Now, comparing with the two data, which one is more spreaded? 很明显，就是我们这一个 car 的这个 data. Okay, 虽然讲它的 mean 和 range 是一样的 but this is more spreaded. So actually, looking back at it, 我刚刚讲它是可能有点宽，有点 spread 了的嘛。After comparing these two data, no, this one is better. 所以 that is statistics. Okay, our conclusion, our hypothesis always change. Okay, we might change it. Our hypothesis can be wrong, which is common. 在科学也是一样的，你的 experiment hypothesis 也是一样会错的。So that's the reason why we say for the SOFA it's more consistent because there's a lower standard deviation and a lower variance. Okay, so smaller standard deviation shows that it's more clustered around the mean. Okay, so which one is more consistent? SOFA. And that's how we can actually make conclusion about consistency. Let's try again. Example 2. So what is the mean of this? If I just type it into calculator, 就是我把这些全部加起来 we find that it's 4.4. So what is the standard deviation? So our sum of x minus x mean, oh sorry, 它其实已经算好了。这个是我们的 sum of x minus x square, mean square, 也就是等于我 29.2 over 5. 那我们的 standard deviation is 2.42. Okay? That's how we basically use the formula to calculate it. Okay, always find the variance first, then find the standard deviation because we have to square root it. So, here's the alternative formula. If you want, it might be easier. It might not. Okay, but 我们的重点是在这里。你看啦，如果我先 square 它 1, 9, 16, let's do 30, this is 36, 64. And I'm going to put one more data. That's called the sum of x and the sum of x squared 在这里。So here is 22 and here is 126. 所以我们的 sum of data 是多少 ?22, 126. Number of data is 5. 如果我用这个 formula 我也是可以，因为这个是 same data 来的嘛，我也是可以算出来一样的 result 的。Let's test it. 126 over 5 minus 22 over 5 square. And if you type it into calculator, it's the same number. Okay? But it doesn't necessary to use this form. It's only easier to calculate. But depends on the person. Now, 我们就有分为 variance and standard deviation alternative formula， 就是我们刚刚讲过的。And we still have some, which is this one. This is our third alternative for variance. Okay? So 这一个就是讲着我把我的 x square 的 sum 加起来之后除以 n， 再减去我的 mean 的 square。 OK， 记得这个是 mean 的 square。而下面的 alternative 其实我们是看过了的。Okay, that's where it starts to derive from. Okay, but these are the alternative forms that you can use. And really depends. 有一些问题他可能会觉得就是讲用这一个 form 会比较容易，用这个 form 比较容易，用这个 form 比较容易。It really depends. And I drew a Mickey Mouse. You know what? I'm just gonna keep that. Yes. So each of the question uses, it's easier to use some sort of formula for a certain type of question. So it's best to give a good consistent practice on each of the formula. Now, for this question, find the standard deviation of the x value correct to 3 significant figure. Okay, whenever 我们看到 frequency 的时候，记得要做的东西是什么？把它们 multiply 在一起。因为有 frequency 的时候，我们的 formula 永远是这一个。So 我们的 sum of f 是等于多少？我们的 sum of f is equals to 51。那我们这里是 xf 嘛？ So that results into 156, 392, 160. 那我们的 sum of it 我自己直接 label sum 啦。The sum of it is equals to 708. Now 我们的 standard deviation 这个我不知道为什么它没有 label 出来 but 我们的 standard deviation it should be in your question exam booklet. Standard deviation of x should be the square root of sum of x square f over sum of f minus sum the mean square. Okay, so in this case 我们就讲 okay, we have to first calculate what x square f is. So 我们再 multiply x 多一次啦，就是拿这一个 value 乘以这个 value， 我们就可以得到172、588还有2560 summation equals to 9,920. So that results into square root of 9920 over 51 minus 我们的 mean, which is 51 over 50. Oh, sorry, not 51. It should be 708 over 51 square, and that put it into calculator. 这个就是我们的 standard deviation. Quite a small standard deviation. 简单来讲，它的这个 percentage error 应该只有 I don't know 0.09% approximately. But yeah, 这个就是我们要懂得去 apply formula for this lecture. Now, estimate the standard deviation. of the height of 20 children given in the following table. So 这里的话我们先 fill up 它的 group， 所以就是 1.4， 因为这里的 maximum 是 1.4 嘛， 1.5 or 1.5 to 1.7. So what is the middle point? Middle point 这里是 1.3, 1.45, 1.6. What about 我们的 frequency times x? 我们这里 frequency times x 也就是我们的 middle point 乘以我们的 x， 那也就是 2.6, 17.2 or 4, 9.6. 那我们的 fx squared 那也就是我们的 3.38 to 5.23 15.36， 而这里的 summation 是等于 29.6， summation 是等于 43.97， 然后这里的 frequency 的 summation 是等于20。那我们就是讲真，他讲 estimate, but basically just use calculator. We don't get the chance to be engineer here. So in this case, 我们得到的是 43.97 over 20 minus 29.6 over 20 square equals to square root of 0.0081, which is 0.089 meter. That is super duper small. Yeah, that's super duper small. Now, almost the end, but not quite yet. I think this is the second last one. With 这一个呢，就像我讲的一样 formula, we must be consistent to use all kind of formulas. 而这一个问题，它要我们用的 formula 是在 summation of n minus 这一个。Or we can say summation of x over n square. 这一个是它要我们用的，因为我们的 variance is equals to 这个，看到吗？我们如果用其他的话，很像讲我直接用 mean 的话，我有可能会 stuck 住。OK， 我可能要去 derive 一点 ，but it's OK，OK，或者是我如果用的这一个的话，我可能会 stuck 一下，我可能会 stuck 的。OK，but that's the reason why it's always consistent to use all kind of formulas in statistics because they love to do that and always trick you with questions. So 这里的话，我们就要找这一个东西 which n is equals to 25 minus 我们的275 over 25 square equals to 7. So summation of x square 如果放 calculator 的话 7 plus 275 over 25 square times our 25, it would be equal to 3,200. This is how we can find it. Now, what if we have data x and y, which is what I hate the most, especially when I first interact with two kinds of data. Okay, so for this one, 我们要做的东西是跟着这里的 formula， 它的 formula format 其实是一样的，只是它加了多一个 data 进来。Okay, it's more frustrating. Okay, because we have to consider two cases at the same time. So in this case, 我们就讲 Okay, so the summation of x square, 因为我们要找的是什么？我们的 standard deviation 嘛，对不对？ So 也就讲这我们要找出来的是这一搞东西 What on earth is this equation? You realize it's actually the same format. I have no idea why they want to overcomplicate this kind of things, but it's actually the same format as this one. It's just 他们 consider 就是加进去 y value 而已。所以这里的话，我们就可以讲27549加37785除以我们的 number of x which is 10 plus 15 minus 我们的 but this is variance just letting you know 1650 plus 2370 over 10 plus 15 square. So in order to find square root, we have to, the standard deviation, we have to square the variance. So that will result into, 也就是讲这整搞东西要 square 啦。So that will result into 16.6 cm. What kind of question is this? I do not want to look at it anymore. But too bad, at levels we have to learn it. Okay, the next one. And also the last one. 我们在这一个情况，我们不是要找出来它的 variance， 也不是要找出来什么其他东西，我们要找出来的是它的 mean of the girls. Okay? Not mean girls, but mean marks of the girls. So, given that all of these students 它是10个 from the girls, 然后120 boys are denoted as X. 所以讲这我们要算的是 Y. Okay. In order to find the mean, 可能你会想到的是直接先代勾，用这一个 formula. But there's no way you can solve it with that. Okay? Reason being, 是因为我们根本不知道 summation of y 是多少，所以我们要用 take a step back， 我们要从 variance， 也就是我们也有可能是我们的 standard deviation 算出来是等于多少先。So in this case， 因为我们知道 variance is equals to square root of is equals to standard deviation square 嘛，所以我们就拿 standard deviation square equals to 整个 formula， 我们就要 fill it up。720, sorry, wrong value. 424320 and then plus our 352130 over 我们有多少个学生？男生有120，女生有80个，减去我们的 summation of guys 加 summation of girls 除以 OK 了200了，我直接写。我们在这里我们算出来，如果你要的话，可以用 calculator 的 solving, which I suggest use the solve method. OK， 那我就会直接解 summation of y is equals to 151290000 minus 7020. As long as you show some steps, you're okay. Okay, 这个是我们的 summation of girls. 那我们的 mean, 我们就要拿这个 summation of y divide by the number of y. 所以就是 5280 divide by 80 and we get 66. So that is the mean mark for the girls. Welcome to statistics. So for the next lesson, 我们要看的是 coded data.